Stop this way.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy Good Friday, folks. This is the day that a man named Jesus gave his life for us. But it's a great Friday. I mean, I can't complain. Where's Miss KASEMAN? I sent her an invite. Is she here, there? How's it going, Cody? How's everybody doing? It's a nice, good, sober Friday. Looking for Miss JEANETTE KASEMAN. There she is. Whoop, whoop. Hello.
Hey, can you hear
How's it?
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, perfect.
I'm about to bring you on the camera. Let's see.
Right.
She is watching. Bring her on, and you're on. See if you can see her on your phone. You still there? You still there, JEANETTE?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, on mine, I can't see you, but I can hear you. And so I'm looking at hers. How's your day going?
Pretty good. I actually just got home from Fargo, like probably 30 minutes ago.
Oh, yeah, you was in Cass County.
Yeah, it was a long drive.
I'm trying to get the view here. All right. There we go.
There you go.
All right.
That one's back in time. This one's in actual time.
Yep. Get your other glasses and come say hi.
Ah. Okay.
So happy Good Friday to everybody. Come on. Say happy Good Friday.
Happy Good Friday.
Hey, dude. Hey, girl.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. How was your day?
Long.
Yeah. What'd you do in Fargo?
Went and bought a vehicle for my daughter. Yeah.
Yay! I bet you were really excited to find out about her first car accident.
So far, she hasn't got a ticket, so we're good.
Her car accident?
No, her daughter. She said she bought her daughter a car. I remember my first car accident. I never told my parents at all. I just waited till someone found out.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What's up, sis?
Well, I love you.
I see Brandy's tuning in from Buccaneer Drive. Yeah. Off Ames Boulevard. Welcome, folks. Welcome to another episode of Sober Talk with Brother Brandon, the Raging Cajun. It's the weekend, baby. Man, I hope everybody's having a beautiful week. We had some warm days, we had some cold days, but we're just we're not counting our eggs to after Easter that the cold weather will stop in North Dakota. But tonight's show is being sponsored by Maya's Mission. Shout out to them. Shout out to Tides for Second Sober Living and New Freedom Center right here in Bismarck, North Dakota. Also, tonight's show is being sponsored by Serenity Bridge Sober Living, the House of Faith, Treasures of the Sea and Earth, and Preferred Heating and Air. And shout out to Prairie Recovery Center. I hope everybody is having a great day. But I got a special guest in the house tonight. I got Jeanette KASEMAN. How you doing, Jeanette?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's been a beautiful day. We just got finished at Evangel Church doing camera for the Good Friday service.
Nice.
And so, Jeanette, how long have you been sober and clean?
It will be 4 years this July 12th.
Congratulations, Jeanette. You are my hero. How does it feel?
Amazing. Yeah. It feels really good.
Well, that's amazing. So, where are you originally from, Jeanette?
So I'm originally from the Minot area. I was born and raised north of Minot. Went to school like my whole life, K through 12, called Glenburn. My parents lived on a farm out there about 15 miles east of Glenburn in a rural area called Deering. So
okay,
a very small rural area.
All right.
I moved to Minot and I've been here ever since.
Okay. So you're in Minot right now?
Yeah.
Magic City.
Magic City. Yeah.
Yep. What's the overdose rate in Minot, North Dakota?
That's a good question. I don't know the exact percentage or rate there is, but I know it's high. Minot PD actually just posted here recently a large number of overdoses again here in the last, I think, 24 to 48 hours. There is 2 non-fatal overdoses and then 1 fatal one. So it's still very scary. It's still happening too much than it should be. But yeah, it's not good.
So how was your spiritual life growing up on the farm? Did your family go to church? Did they pray? Did they do anything?
No, we didn't do church. I remember going to church a little bit with my grandparents when I was little. But my mom is Southern Baptist, and so there's not a lot of Southern Baptist churches here. So she just kind of raised us as just you believe what you believe and type thing. Church was never pushed upon us, anything like that. But my mom is a very firm believer in a higher power, and she will preach the Bible to you 24/7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how was your teenage years? How old were you when you first tried drugs or alcohol?
So coming from a small town, there wasn't a whole lot to do but kind of party on the weekends, bonfires, stuff like that. I believe I was probably 14, 15 when I first tried weed. I was probably drinking at the same time. Like I said, in the weekends, there's bonfire parties in rural areas and stuff. But I didn't actually do my first hard drug until I was 35 years old.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
good but sad at the same time.
Right.
I was a grown woman with a family, kids, husband, careers, and it just, took everything from me.
Would you just got bored and was like, I'm gonna go smoke some crack or something?
Okay, so long story, it's pretty much that, yeah. You know how that saying is curiosity killed the cat? Well, I'm the cat, okay? It was a curiosity thing. my husband worked at the time and still does now, but in the oil. Uh, we had a barbecue at our house one night, and one of his coworkers actually is like, "Do you want to do the dirty bird?" And I was like, "What the heck is that?"
I thought that was a dance.
Yeah. And he's like, I was like, "Oh," I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Why would no? Absolutely not." And then someone else chimed in like, "Oh, it's just like it's just a stimulant, you know, it's just a little stronger." And at the time, I was on a stimulant. I was on Adderall prescription. It was prescribed by my doctor, and they're like, "It's just a little higher, a little more potent to it," you know. And I was like, "Okay, whatever, I'll try it." And that was done once, one and done.
Yep.
I was, yeah.
You was hooked, huh?
I was hooked. Yeah, it literally one time, and I was done for. I never stopped. You know,
Yeah.
and
So once the snake bites you, it's got a hold of you.
yeah, it's crazy. To be honest, like I didn't even really know what meth was. You know, like I've never been around it. I've never seen it. I never knew anybody that did it. So it wasn't a thing of my life. And I didn't grow up around like addicts or anything like that. Like nobody in my family is an addict. I'm the black sheep here, you know. And so it was a whole new experience and world for me. Like it was a crazy ride. Yeah.
Were you drinking when you tried it?
No. I mean, well, maybe I was. Maybe I was having a few like, you know, garage beers or whatever, but I feel like I was intoxicated. I definitely was fully aware of what I was doing and what I was trying.
Right. So did you have any hobbies growing up or anything?
So as a kid, I had a hobby farm. We raised rabbits. So I had like at one point 150 bunnies. And we had like chickens and geese and guinea hens and ducks and stuff like that. But my parents were like farmers, or my dad's a farmer. My mom was like a rural route carrier for like 42 years, you know, so I grew up on a farm. But like as far as like hobbies and stuff, like school, I was in sports, you know, drama club, you know, stuff like that, normal, choir, band, whatever. Yeah.
You ever put one of those animals in the state fair?
I did. I did my rabbits one year. Yeah, I did.
Man, the first time I went to the state fair, and I went in one of those buildings and seen all them different kind of rabbits. I was like, man, I didn't even knew they had rabbits. They don't even look like rabbits. Look like some kind of Ewok or something.
Yeah. I was in 4-H or whatever, but yeah.
Okay. So, after you graduated from high school,
I did. Yeah, I graduated. I did well in school. I had good grades. I was a social person. I wasn't a troubled teen or anything like that. I didn't have issues. I mean, yeah, I graduated, no problem.
So what was your big plan after you finished high school?
So my big plan was actually I wanted to become a parole and probation officer. Really weird because I definitely got to know who they were after I got in trouble.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was really wanting to do is parole and probation, in some kind of law enforcement or whatever. But I didn't go to college because right after I graduated college, I actually got pregnant with my first child. So I just worked. I worked and I was a mom, you know, and then like 4 years after my firstborn, I had another, and then, you know, the 4 years after that, I had another, and then a year after that, I had another. So, yeah.
So were you living on a farm too, as well, or
No,
you just living in Minot?
no, I was living in Minot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at what point did you were you always drinking in between babies, or
No, I mean, I never had an issue with alcohol. It was just it was a social thing for me. When I had my first kid, it was I didn't do anything but be a mom. You know, like that was my thing. I loved being a mom. I loved everything about it. You know, I mean, I went out a few times here and there. You know, if my mom would babysit, you know, type thing. But you know, the partying days just really diminished. after I, yeah.
Okay. And so, at 35, you tried meth for the first time.
Yeah.
And then how long was it before you got in trouble?
It was 2 years after I started is when I first got my first charge for possession.
Mm.
And then years after that, I mean, in between those 2 years after my first charge, I accumulated several charges between felonies and misdemeanors. But
Mhm.
2 years after my first charge, I did end up getting sent to prison.
Okay. And what prison did you go to? The women's prison?
Yeah, the women's prison in North Dakota, the DWCRC. Yeah.
And how long were you there?
I was there a year,
Mhm.
and then got released during that mass COVID influx. When COVID hit, they did a mass release.
Mhm.
My sentence was 5 years flat, so I was looking to sit in prison at a minimal of 18 months. So I got released, pretty early.
Were you selling drugs too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so at what point did you go from just using to selling?
I really don't remember how it happened. It just did. Like, I knew people, and I don't know, they just allowed me to take over some things. So
Most of your life you were at home being a mom, and just one day you got high and then you said, I'm gonna take over the city.
yeah. So literally,
Sound like me.
yeah, it was bad. Yeah. It wasn't just like the drugs, it was like everything that I got involved while using drugs. I did things that I never ever imagined myself doing. I was, stealing, I was lying, I was, doing some terrible, terrible things to people that I love, my close friends and family. Like, I made a menace of myself, and yeah, gave myself a really bad reputation real quick.
Right. When you got to prison, what did you like picture in your mind or expect, and what was it like?
So when I first got there, I was kind of scared when I first got there, but when I got there, I was like, oh, whatever, this ain't nothing. But while I was there, it was really weird feeling. I just had this major feeling like I was missing out on so much of the world out there. I was like, it was just, I don't know how to explain it. I wasn't remorseful when I went there the first time. I say that. It was a big reunion. I would see girls I knew from the streets, and we'd hang out and stuff. And it just, that time when I went the first time, it wasn't a lesson for me. It was just a break from the streets. That's all it was.
How many times have you been to prison?
Twice.
Twice?
Yeah.
So basically you went to prison for a year and you had no intentions of staying sober?
I mean, I wanted to, but it was like on my top priority list. I felt so much like I needed to know what everyone was doing. Like, all my friends, let's quote unquote that, my user friends, I felt like I was missing out on so much. Like, when I was on drugs, it opened up a whole different kind of world. Like, a world that I only seen on TV. And the freedom of it that I got when I was using, I think that's what I missed the most when I was first there. It was just doing whatever the heck I wanted to, and like I had, no commitments to nothing. So when I was released, because it happened so fast, I pretty much strong-armed my parents to let me parole to their house because I had nowhere to go. I had no address to go home to. I had no job. I had nothing. And
where were your kids and your husband?
So my husband was at his parents with our kids. But because of my shenanigans on, drugs or whatever, my relationship with his family was pretty much ruined.
So he wasn't using drugs?
Huh?
He wasn't using drugs?
Me and my husband used together. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We together, and we got sober together.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you was in prison the first time, did they send you to any kind of treatment?
Nope. So here's what happened. Because of that COVID that hit, I actually did treatment when I got out on, like on Zoom with, some counselor from the DOCR. And I remember I started June 6th of 2020, and I had my certificate in the mail in my hands by August 10th. It was so short, and it was only 3 days a week for 3 hours a day. And that was
and after that, how long did it take before you started using again?
I was using 3 days after I got out of prison the first time.
Oh, so you was using while you was taking the online.
Because there was COVID, there was we couldn't check in with our PO. I mean, we checked in, but it was just a phone call. There was no or anything like that because we couldn't go into the office. So I was literally getting away with everything.
Right.
Yeah.
You know the craziest thing? During COVID, you'll see a whole bunch of drug addicts wearing their masks because, COVID is killing everybody.
Yeah.
And they'll be sharing the same needle.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or sharing the same pipe. It was like, man, that don't make no sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I feel like if COVID hadn't hit and I stayed in, I wouldn't have gone back the second time. I needed that time in prison. I needed that time to sit there and think about what I've done and get myself right again. Because it was that second time around when I went to prison where I was like, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. Yeah.
Right. Did you detox bad or
no?
How did that go?
No, not at all. Slept a couple days and that was it. Yeah.
Okay. What's the longest you think you ever stood up on meth?
I stayed awake.
Yeah.
11.
Like another sunrise and the angry birds are chirping.
Yeah, 11 days is the longest time I've stayed up.
How was that?
It was awful.
Right.
Yeah.
Start seeing stuff and making up your own languages and stuff.
Weird stuff. You just you do some weird things. You say some weird things, and yeah, it's not fun. It's very scary. Very, very scary.
Right. Yeah. Every meth bag on it should say the devil on one side, and on the other side it says you will go to jail, you will become homeless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how did you wind up? How long from the time you got out of prison the first time? How long were you free before you went back?
So I was released, I believe, in May. No, hold on. I was released in April. I was out for a couple months, and then I got picked up on more charges in May. So yeah, it was out a month, 2 months. Maybe it was March. I can't remember for sure. March, April time was when I was released. And then I got picked up in May for more charges. And they sent me to the Tompkins, Jamestown treatment, the community side. And I stayed there for 30 days and decided I was good. I'm going to check myself out because they didn't tell me that I had to stay there any length of time. And I took that and ran with it. So I stayed the 30 days at normal, treatments are, and I'm going to go. And then and the counselor reported to my PO that I had left treatment with, her saying I was ready to go. And they put a prison warrant on me. In total, from the time I was released from prison until I went back, I was out for 16 months. And yeah, and then I went back for another year.
Okay. So how was it this time?
Second time, that's when it hit me. I always tell, so my job now is I work with recovery and addicts and stuff in a sober living facility. And I tell my clients, hopefully for you, as it did with me, a light bulb just went bing. It just clicked on for me. I got to prison the second time and absolutely humiliated. I felt everything that time. I was so crushed. I was so sad. It was the most awful feeling I've ever had. More than I was remorseful and stuff when I was using. I was embarrassed, but I numbed all those, obviously, by drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So second time when I went, it really hit me hard, and that light bulb came on, and I was like, that's when I knew I was done. And I worked really, really hard on myself when I was in prison. They sent me to HRCC for treatment, and I went through I believe it was a 4-month-long treatment.
And what did
out
you
there.
learn? What did you learn in there? Did you start working the 12 steps, or what exactly went on in that place?
Regulation, I mean, skills. That program, that LAC out there, she was phenomenal. And if anybody has to go to prison, any woman going into the prison system, I highly recommend getting sent to HRCC, because that woman changed my life. Everything that she said, I actually took it in, and I learned from her. And I'd never, even the Jamestown treatment or the one I did on Zoom with the DOCR, like, that was nothing. This one was good. She knew what she was doing, and she really, really made me think. I'll never forget a couple times she told me, she's like, your answers are superficial. And I used to get so mad at her, because I'm like, what is superficial? Like, I'm telling you what I feel. She's like, no, you need to dig deeper. And after that class that day, I went back into my room, and I was sitting there, and I was just thinking, I was like, what does she really mean by that? Like, I really took it to heart. It's like, I'm not superficial. Like, I know what I'm feeling. I know what I'm saying. And then it just clicked again. I was like, she's right. Because when she asked me a question, I had an automatic response for her, because that was just, I feel like that's just because of what I've heard before. But it's dug deep into my recovery and my sobriety of what my answer should have been. So yeah, she really got to me. She got in my head, and it worked.
Do you still know her?
I mean, I haven't talked to her since I've been released. I mean, I'd really love to go back there one day and, visit and, whatever. But yeah, she's an amazing person. I hope she's still there. I don't really know if she is or not.
So when you got out of HRCC, what happened?
I was sent to Fargo Center. My parole address was approved. At that time, my husband was getting us a house, and he hadn't found one yet for us. So I went to Fargo Center, and then I was there for 1 month, and my husband got us a house, signed a lease, and my parole was transferred back to Ward County, and I got to move home.
Okay. And how did you stay sober? You know what I mean? Like, did you start going to meetings? Like, how did you start working for the Sober Living House?
So when I first got back to Minot, 6 days after I got back to Minot, I was hired on at a local hotel as a front desk receptionist. And so I started working. That's what I did. I worked. I did go to Celebrate Recovery, which is at a church here in town, every Thursday. I went and did that for, a few times. Not every Thursday, but I did that with my husband, my kids. And then, but I drowned myself in work, because I really enjoyed being at work and feeling some kind of self-worth again. Like, I was making money. It was honest. It was clean. And that's what I did. And I really fell in love with the job and the people I started working with. And soon after I worked there, I was promoted to the assistant manager. So I stayed with that company for 3 years. Once I was promoted as assistant manager, I made general manager. And then I kind of wanted to do something more. I was, my heart was in the recovery community, but I wasn't working where my heart was. I loved my job, yes, but I wanted to do something where my heart was. So I started looking for a part-time job, and the Sober Living House had posted an ad as a sober living aide. So I applied, and I got it. And I went to work at the hotel in the mornings, and I worked to the sober house at night. I did that about a year, and then maybe a year and a half. And then just past January, I was given the opportunity to become manager of the sober living facility at the sober house. I took it, and I left the hotel.
So it's a sober living for women?
For men. For men only. Yep.
Okay. And what's the name of it?
The sober house is called Landy Lighthouse. It's through FA Addiction Services here in Minot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how long is that place been in existence?
It opened, I believe, in May or June of 2023, and I started in August of 23. So it only been open for like 2 months when I had started.
And how many individuals can live there to capacity?
9.
Okay. Is it always full, or do they have a waiting list?
So we're not always full, but pretty close, pretty close. Sometimes we have, like right now we have a few beds open, but we're usually, we always have somebody in the house, always do.
Right. And so for someone wanting to apply, or what kind of things could they expect moving into that sober living house? Like, what's a person's daily life like there?
So if they're eligible for day treatment, inpatient day treatment, whatever, they move into the sober house.
Okay.
The steps to do that is get an evaluation through the office. There's a number that they can call. You schedule an evaluation with them, and they'll determine if you are more of an inpatient or if you're an outpatient, client or whatever. If you're inpatient, then they will bring you to the house. The program does last, so it is 12 weeks. No, I'm sorry. Yes, it is 12 weeks. So they do 40 sessions in the treatment or whatever. They are able to.
At the house?
No, so they live at the house, but we transport them to an office where they do their programming Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a separate entity, or that's part of that sober house too?
No, it is part of the sober house.
The treatment.
So far, yeah, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so all the people that live in the sober house, they go to day treatment in another building.
Okay.
But for the same company though.
All right. And how can someone apply to get in there?
They have to just call the office and schedule an evaluation if they are seeking treatment or whatever. But yeah, they have to call and make an appointment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the name of the sober living again?
The sober living house is called Landy Lighthouse.
Landy Lighthouse.
Landy Lighthouse. Yeah, but the company is FA Addiction, FAA, FA Addiction.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I think I've seen that somewhere before. Were they at Recovery Reinvented?
I'm not really sure if they were or not.
Okay.
Might have been.
So you're the manager, the top manager of the house.
Right.
So you go there every day.
Every day. Yep. Yep.
Okay. And do you go to meetings? Or you bring them to meetings, or
the meetings? I do have staff at night that transports them to the meetings every night or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I know quite a few people from the Minot area. You know the Sanctuary?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Carrie and them, Women's House.
Yeah.
Saving women's lives. Great thing up there.
Yeah.
I know also, Kevin Perdue?
Yes, with Marco?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, I'm familiar with.
I met him when I first got sober at the NA camp house.
How long ago was that for you?
7.5 years.
Very nice.
Yep. But I seen him at the camp out last year.
Yeah.
And the first time I met him, that's when I started learning that you can have fun in recovery.
Yeah.
We go to camp outs, and I remember we had people playing music out there and a DJ, and we had glow sticks and all kind of glow stuff on us. I mean, we had a ball. My sponsor had dropped me off over there. I was still living in a sober living house, and I borrowed his tent.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a great time, and that's what I started going to everything, all the camp outs, all the conferences that I could.
Yeah, and the stuff and like the different states. I think they're going to Nebraska here soon.
Are you going?
I'm not. No, but I know there is a NA retreat out in Nebraska. I feel like it's coming up very soon here.
Right.
Whatever. Yeah.
Were your kids old enough when you were in prison the first time or the second time? Do they remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah.
do they remember you using or acting
Yes,
crazy?
yes.
And how is your relationship with them now, and like how did that affect them?
And so all my kids, I have all my kids.
Okay. How
I
many total?
I have 4 total.
Okay.
2 are adults now. But I do have still 2 at home who are graduating this year. Um, so my relationships with them now are good. They were not by any means. It took a lot, especially for my 2 oldest, to come back around and for me to get forgiveness and work on that relationship with them. But I feel, and I hope they would say the same, but it's really good now. Yeah.
Okay. Do you ever worry about like them using drugs?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. My biggest.
Um, how do you deal with that? Like, do you educate them or like, because especially in the Minot area, there's a lot of fentanyl, there's a lot of everything, and people are overdosing. And like, how do you educate them, or how do you like get into their head and tell them like you can die from this?
I mean, besides threatening their lives, I mean, I'm joking. I don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been very blessed with some very, very good kids. My kids, they don't party, like when I was in high school, I was hanging out and stuff. I was rooping around or whatever. I mean, my kids friends and that's it. They don't do that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's a very good question though. You got me on that one. Like,
I mean, it's real.
I feel and I really hope that watching their parents go through that is education enough for them to realize damage it did for them. Yeah.
And so did you make an amends to them?
Oh yeah.
Or at some point?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, that's some real life stuff when you got to make an amends to one of your children. I had to do the same.
Yeah.
When I got sober and saved, I hadn't seen my daughter, talk to her in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so after I was sober a while, when I got to fly out there and make an amends to her, the last time I had seen her, she was like 9 going on to 10, and then when I went and made amends, she was 16. So it was a big difference,
Yeah, that's a
and
topic.
and it's some sobering stuff because you can't justify anything. I had to sit there and take it. Like nobody was there to teach me how to ride a bike. Nobody was there to teach me how to swim. Nobody was there. I felt alone, and so it definitely make you realize how much time you were gone.
Yeah, sure.
But
Absolutely.
by the grace of God and sobriety, I have both my children in my life. So you can rekindle relationships. That's what I found out. You can mess your whole life up in a half a second, and it'll take you 15 years to fix it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep.
Right. And so just recently, Sobertalk did an event at the women's prison in New England, and you got to go back into the prison where you were at with us.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
That was some other type of feeling, man. I mean, that was a very surreal feeling. I felt so refreshed and just wholeheartedly, like my heart was so full when I left there. It was so able to go in and actually share a little bit of my story and giving some hope back to those women there that, I mean, I've been there, again, and it can happen. Recovery is possible. And that was just an amazing experience for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we did a hairstylist and speaker event, Sober Talk. So we brought some hairstylists in there to do the ladies' hair, and then all the speakers got to speak. You, Leanne, Teresa, Shelly, and Mallory,
Yeah.
Pastor Ruben, and me. But it was a great experience to see 3 women that were incarcerated there for years to be able to come back in there, you know, and speak.
Yeah. We all three of us were there together too. So it was awesome to be able to go back with them
Right.
and go back to speak. Yeah. It was wonderful. I loved it.
Yeah, I was happy to watch y'all experience that.
Yeah.
You know, so few personal questions.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite food?
Spaghetti.
What's your favorite thing to eat at the state fair?
Flowering onion.
A flower and onion.
Yeah.
If you could visit anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh, Alaska.
Why?
I don't know. I want to go on that, like,
Do you
that.
fish?
Yeah, I do. My husband's a huge fisherman, so is my son, one of my sons, and like I love to fish, even though I don't catch anything hardly ever, but it's still fun.
What?
But I want to go on like, river boats, like tours or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know where like the fish are like flying all over you and stuff. I think it's fun. I just want to experience. I just want to be able to see the beautiful wilderness out there.
Yeah.
You know, and we're like tired of looking at it on TV. Yeah.
So if anybody out there listening right now and they just sitting at home bored being a house mom and they think about using drugs for the first time, or anybody that's, you know, they've been to prison and now their life's good and they're thinking about using drugs again, or they're just in a dark place and they want to change their life around, if you had any words of wisdom, what would you tell them?
Ask for help. Reach out to somebody. Talk to somebody. Don't bury it. Don't keep those inside. That is absolutely, and I know from firsthand experience, like don't hold in your emotions and your troubles. Talk to somebody. No matter how little a problem you think it is, it could turn into a huge one if you don't say something. Just speak up. Ask for talk to somebody you trust.
Do you think that meth is the devil?
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely the devil. I don't know what you would call that, but it absolutely is the worst thing possible that could ever walk the face of this earth. Absolutely.
Right. I think the fentanyl epidemic is like a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
You know, it is.
I agree. Yeah, it's crazy.
Because I remember when they used, like, I never even heard of fentanyl. You know what I mean? And then, because back home they had like an era. You can even watch it on a series. There's a documentary on Netflix. But an era where they had these pill mills, and you could just go from pain clinic to pain clinic, and you can, by the end of the day, you could have a whole garbage bag full of pain pills. And I remember when I moved up here, and it was like, man, you pay like crazy money for just that. But it was like nobody got the memo when they switched the pain pills to fentanyl pills to look like pain pills. Like when they came through, the people that didn't get the memo, a lot of people died. You know what I mean? And people.
Yeah, I didn't until after I got the first time. I had no idea what it was until I came home from prison the first time. I heard of it. Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah, it's
that, you know, praise the Lord. Like that never happened.
Right. And I like to say, you know, I never really did meth back home. Not, I think I tried it maybe once or something, but when I got up here, it was like, you know, I tried meth and it was just like you talked about. Once the snake bites you, it's a lot of people that never come back and get sober after using that. You know what I mean? And I've been saved in North Dakota, and I've been meeting a lot of people in the last 7.5 years that they've been saved as well. You know what I mean? But some people never come back. You know, they never get the chance. They can't get that demon off of them.
Yeah.
You know, and so we are very blessed. You know what I mean? We are miracles. But like for me, it was always the alcohol first.
Yeah.
You know, because after drinking, 30 minutes after thinking Brother Brandon want drugs, you know, and so I know for a fact if I was still drinking and drugging, I would be dead because
Yeah.
I would start drinking and it's like, okay, what you got? You know what I mean? I ain't trying to be picky. Just give me 2 of them, you know? And so I know that I would be dead. So whenever I hit my frozen bottom and God came and scooped me up, you know, I'm very thankful for that every day because I'm supposed to be dead. And, and every day I'm thankful that I'm alive, you know? And so when I start my days off being thankful for just waking up, it really starts the start of a good day, you know?
Absolutely. I feel
And
that.
so what's some resources in the Minot area that you would recommend for people that don't know where to start but want to change their life?
So some resources, we have some agencies, and those are Community Options, Independence, or Central Human Service Center. There's Ideal Options, and then you are trying to come off of fentanyl or heroin or anything like that. We do have community medical services that helps you get on a program such as methadone to help you come off of the street drugs. And Ideal Options, they can prescribe Suboxone. They don't do the methadone program, but they do Suboxone, so that's an option too. As far as like treatment facilities here in town, I highly recommend FA addiction services for males. And there is Providence House for females, Sanctuary, and I believe that is like the only inpatient treatment for females.
Does the Minot area have a detox center?
We do have a detox center, and oh my gosh, it's called Open Arms. Open Arms is a detox center.
Is it like 24 hours where people can just show up?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Because I know through the years, I've gotten a lot of calls, like in the middle of the night, late at night, early in the morning, where people just don't have nowhere to go, and they you know what I mean, and they want to get they high or they drunk or whatever, I know especially around here, they go to the hospital, but then they kick them out the hospital or they have to get arrested or something, you know. And so for them to have a place where they can go and detox in a safe place is a great thing. I know that for sure.
Yeah,
Well,
there's lots of options. You have to ask, you know, you got to ask for help.
Right. So do you speak your story or your testimony, or was it the first time when we went back to the prison?
That was my first time.
How did it feel?
Awesome. I loved it. Every bit of it. It was great.
Right.
Yep.
And so I love to speak. I actually went and spoke at Heartview this morning, right here in Bismarck, Heartview, and so you should try to do it more. Maybe we can team up and do some more events.
Yeah, I would love that. Absolutely. Definitely one of my goals is to get back out to HRCC. Okay. That's my next.
So that's the next spot. So I have Sobertalk has another event May 12th at JRCC, Jamestown Correctional Facility, for the men. I'm bringing barbers and speakers. And so that's May 12th. And then after that, the next stop will be at some point HRCC and YCC. Nice. So, but we're also planning a wedding that's really, I ain't gonna say stressful, but it takes a lot of attention to detail to try to plan a wedding. Yeah. You know, so I try to keep my peace and not stress myself out.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show tonight, and I'm really proud of you. You know, 4 years sober, been to prison twice. I'm really proud of you that, you know, you turned it around and that you're the mother and the woman that you're supposed to be, and you're managing a sober living house and you're giving back. You know, that's the best feeling in the world for somebody, their life has been saved, to be able to give back to others or assist others in some kind of way where they can change their life too.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, I got Jeanette Kaseman, with 4 years of sobriety in Minot, North Dakota. She is a walking miracle. Well, I want to thank you, sis, for taking the time out to share your story. And if you ever need some resources, feel free to contact us. Or if we ever need some resources in your area, we'll be contacting you.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
I got a little bunny bouncing around.
That's a whisper. All right. Okay, guys, have a great week.
A chicken.
You crazy. But y'all pray for me. But but I want to thank everybody for tuning in to another episode of Sober Talk with Brother Brandon, the Raging Cajun. I want to give a special shout out to Maya's Mission. I want to give a special shout out to Tied for Second, Sober Living and New Freedom Center, Prairie Recovery Center, Serenity Bridge Sober Living right here in Bismarck, North Dakota. Shout out to Preferred Heating and Air, Treasures of the Sea and Earth, Resurrection Tattoo, where you get hooked up and not effed up. Also, give a special shout out to the House of Fade that will be with us at the Jamestown prison, cutting men's hair and brightening up their day. But thanks again, Miss Kaseman. And if you can't stay sober, catch a Uber. And in the words of my great grand sponsor, Jack Height, if nobody told you, we love you, baby. Peace and chicken grease. Woo! Happy Easter, y'all.
Happy Easter.
You too.